Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome, brothers and sisters in Islam all over the world, to Book Review. In today's episode, we are going to discuss a book that is very important for everyone to have in his library, books of hadith. And one of the very main and major and essential books is Umdat al-Ahkam for Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. This book was authored maybe over 900 years ago. This book contains a lot of the ahadith, the major ones, not all, in the rulings in fiqh. The scholars based such rulings on the ahadith in this book and others. Today is joining me a lecturer in Al-Azhar University, Faculty of Languages and Translation, Islamic Studies Department. He is specialized in teaching and lecturing in the hadith, and I'm proud to have him with me today to talk about this book. Welcome, Professor Saeed Faris. Thank you for joining me today.
You're most welcome.
It's my pleasure. Professor Saeed, we want to talk at the start of this episode at the importance of authentic hadith. It's very important to base our knowledge and to base our views, Islamic views in particular, upon authentic hadith. This book is all authentic. So let's talk about the importance of authentic hadith at the start of the episode.
Sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, hadith, when we look at hadith, we should understand and value the literature of hadith, first of all. So we should know that hadith constitutes an important part of our tradition. And the scholars discussed hadith, the meaning of hadith, the definition of hadith, and the scope of hadith from different perspectives. So we have the theologians discuss the meaning of hadith. You have the scholars of usul al-fiqh, they also discuss the meaning of hadith. You have the muhaddithun themselves, they discuss the meaning of the hadith. So when we talk about hadith, we should first understand what do we mean by hadith here, okay? So this is a basic point that we should all understand, because when we talk about hadith, we should know what we are referring to. So this is point number one, about the authentication of hadith. Now, we know the history of the collection of the hadith. It started in, during the Prophet's time. Of course, we know many sahifa that had a hadith, but after that, we had a growth of hadith throughout centuries until we reached into thousands of hadiths. Okay, now there were many factors playing in the way these hadiths were produced, were developed, were growing. And because of these many aspects, we needed, the scholars of Islam realized the need to establish a methodology to authenticate the hadith. So they started working on the chain of the hadith. They started working on the matn, the text of the hadith. They started working on, the relation between language and the hadith, the relation between, causes of the hadith, the incidents, the occasions, cause of the occasions of the hadith. So we have different aspects that scholars discuss, analyze in order to reach at the aspect of is this hadith a reliable one, an authentic one, or not? So this is one aspect. Why they are doing this? Why they were doing this? And I think this is the point of your question, where they were doing this. They were doing this because when you look at the Quran, you will find the Quran has many general principles. And then the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ came to interpret, to elaborate, to illustrate the applications of some of these principles. So we should look at these, principles. This is like the general, in general terms, but then how you apply this principle, here we go to the tradition of the Prophet ﷺ in order to understand and to interpret or to apply this. Here comes the significance of knowing the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, because this is the model of how these principles were established and were practiced in real life.
So in general, the authentic hadith should be the basis that the Muslim should base on his knowledge. Okay. This book is very important in its area. The scholars built on it a lot of the fiqh, a lot of the rulings. So we want to expand on this point to benefit our viewer when reading such a book.
Okay, this book belongs to a category that is called hadith al-ahkam. And the hadith al-ahkam is, is a category that collects the traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam relating to legal rulings, relating to fiqh. And the scholars, after the main collections and compilations of hadith, they start to think of different ways of organizing the hadiths. Okay, so some of them started to compile the hadiths based on the narrators, based on the tabaqat. Others start to collect them based on the times of occasions. And now we have this category of fiqh that is, based on the collecting the hadith that are relevant to fiqh.
To the different areas of fiqh.
To different areas of fiqh. And here you see the organization of these books. They are organized based on the fiqh books.
Okay.
So they start with the book of Tahara, they start with the Salah, and then after the Salah, they go to the other ritual, the other, Kutub al-Ibadat, the other rituals, and then after that they go to transactions.
And the Hajj.
Exactly.
So the book goes through the different ahadith and organizes them on these areas.
Exactly. And here comes also a different advantage of these books.
And after the Hajj comes what?
You have the transactions, your kutub al-mu'amalat, transaction, kutub al-biyu', kutub al-shra'. Of course, we have also the al-ahwal al-shakhsiyya, the family affairs.
Family affairs after the transactions, the financial transactions.
It depends on the book that you're actually.
Okay. No, we're talking about Umdat al-Ahkam, so this is the order.
This is the author. This is the order there. Okay. Yeah, and then and also when you look at these collections of hadith, we will find that the author focuses only on the text of the hadith.
Okay.
It doesn't get us involved with the long chains of narrations.
Okay.
Okay,
because he just mentions the first or the Sahabi, the companion.
The companion,
okay,
and then
narrator.
the text of the hadith, and focus on. And also there is also the advantage of not repeating the wording of different hadiths. So you have one hadith in certain aspect, and this is the hadith that is kind of like that is summarized.
Okay.
That summarizes the issue. Here. Okay, so you have these all different advantages when you deal with hadith al-ahkam.
Okay. I want to move on to a very important question, which is what are the principles that a normal Muslim, a Muslim that doesn't have the qualifications to read in the hadith of the rulings, the fiqh, what are the principles that he should put into mind when reading such the hadith in order not to get mixed up through the different point of views? Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, that's
or different views of fiqh. I mean.
Different views of fiqh. Okay, I mean that if a normal person reads an hadith, he shouldn't jump into conclusions before reaching a conclusion or before deciding upon a hukm. He should realize that this is only one hadith from a whole corpus of hadith
that's a very important point.
That may together constitute a basis for different ahkams based on the person, based on the case, based on the time, based on the locality.
Okay, that's a very important point. So the normal Muslim, when he reads these ahadith, he shouldn't get out a hukm without reading the rest of the hadith or without consulting a scholar or like one of the specialized people in fiqh, right?
Exactly, and that is why actually for Umdat al-Ahkam there are like maybe more than 5 commentaries on Umdat al-Ahkam. So 5 scholars explaining the ahadith, and when you go there and check these different scholars, you will find that each one of them is taking a different line of thought and commenting on the hadith from its own school orientation or methodology or approach. So yes, for a general reader, he should not only read the hadith, but he should also read the commentaries written on that hadith. And in these commentaries, he will realize that there are a spectrum of positions. You have the 2 extremes, and you have in between different positions. Okay, and this is how we should always say that. Okay.
So in order to extract a ruling, in order to extract a hukm, you should have certain qualifications. You should read the explanations of the hadith and not just whatever you understand, you come and implement and say this is the sunnah. That's the point I want you to expand on, or I want to make very clear.
I mean, your point, this is the sunnah. This is a very important point here, because in order to judge that this is the sunnah, you have to have a clear, explicit indication or report that tells you that this is the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and this the sunnah is very hard to get into or to reach at this, because we have 4 schools at least. I mean, the four common schools among Muslims. Okay, and if there is the sunnah, then why we have all these differences among scholars? Okay, so here we should understand that the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the practice of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, should be understood.
And these scholars base their views of fiqh, or their views on sunnah as well, but there are different ahadith that these scholars built on the law or their view afterwards. Isn't that right?
Exactly. You have the argument and you have the counter argument. You have the hadith and you have the other hadith.
Exactly.
And that's why you find the scholars try to compromise between these different hadiths.
So a person taking just one hadith and just taking out of it a sunnah and saying this is the sunnah, he's just like not following the true path that he should go through in order to reach at the end.
Exactly. And I mean, let me just give you a very simple example here.
Can we leave this example after the break?
Okay, sure.
Okay. We are going to a short break, and we have more after the break, so stay tuned to Book Review. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Before the break, we were talking about the importance of hadith and our book for today, عمدة الأحكام for Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. Welcome back, Professor. We stopped at the example. Let's give an example. It shouldn't be from the book, about wrong understanding of hadith.
It's not only about wrong understanding of hadith, but about the possibilities we have. Okay. So the possibilities we have, for example, when you a very famous hadith. Okay, the hadith about the signs of hypocrites. In one hadith, you will find 4 signs. In another hadith, you will find 3, and you will find one that is different from the other 2. Okay, here when you put these hadith together, you're going to have 5 signs of a hypocrite. Okay, now my point is, which hadith should be taken priority? The one that says 3, the one that says 4? The scholars of hadith here, they come in and they say, actually, both are intended. So the point is not setting a number, but the point is to address a certain situation. And the Prophet ﷺ, in that situation, he's like the mufti, he's like the counselor, he's like the healer. So based on the person he stands in front of him, he directs his speech, he makes his advice, and he makes his position, his opinion. Okay, so again, back to the hadith al-ahkam. When we have one hadith, we should know why the Prophet ﷺ said that hadith, and for whom and in what occasion. If you have these 3 elements together and you know everything about the hadith, then based on that you can reach a specific conclusion or ruling. But just to take the wording of the hadith and said that the Prophet ﷺ said that.
You should be qualified also to do this job.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, this is part from qualifications. We'll talk about, what is actually, this is one of the problems in our societies now. People, they just read an ayah or just read an hadith, and then they base their conclusion on that. And then if you have a different position or a different opinion, they will tell you, you're not right, you're against the Prophet ﷺ. And here it's a critical problem.
That's
we cannot
a big problem
really,
that we're facing nowadays.
Exactly, we cannot really, I mean, the point of toleration doesn't exist nowadays. Basing, I know this, so what I know, what I've read is the only way. And again, this is a huge.
And that's what all the other fields of study are based on, small things, and then they grow with them. In religion, it's the same. We can't take one hadith and say, this is the sunnah, I know what this field is, and I know everything, and I just read one hadith.
Exactly. So we may make this distinction between what we call general basis hadith that informs us about guidelines. Okay, and also we may find solutions, hadith that are related to solutions. The Prophet ﷺ in a specific situation, he has a specific, problem in front of him. So he gives his position about that. About that situation, it's a solution given by the Prophet ﷺ to that question. Okay, now this can be a guideline for us if we face or encounter problems like that. Okay, so here we need to make this distinction. So when we talk about hadith, so this hadith belongs to what category? Does it belong to the category of general principles, or does it belong to the category of specific events, okay, that happen to be with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
And the scholars are the one to say which category does
Exactly.
it
Yes,
relate to. Dr. Saeed, I want to ask you, how many ahadith exactly is the book?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. It's like 420 something.
Okay.
Okay, so and as we say, this is the collection of the hadith that are related to ahkam. If you look at it, here it's very interesting to also to relate this to the hadith, to the ayat of ahkam as well, because the two sciences were developed, together. So you have ayat al-ahkam also maybe like, and it's also in the neighborhood or surrounding of 500. So.
So in college, this book is taught in how many years?
In how many years?
Yeah. Like to show our viewer how this book is in depth, and that they just couldn't, they shouldn't approach building on it rulings or building on it Islamic law.
I mean, let me just tell you about, I can't really tell you how many years, but let me tell you something about it. I taught this book this year, okay? And throughout the year, I covered only 10 ahadith.
10 ahadith in
10
1 year?
ahadith in a year. Okay, of course, we're meeting like
Brothers
twice.
and sisters, 10 ahadith in 1 year, and some of us might read this book in 1 month and say, I'm a scholar, this is the sunnah, and that's wrong, that's bid'ah, and look at the doctor, he says in Al-Azhar University, in 1 year, he taught only 10 ahadith to his students. Yeah.
Of course, we're not meeting every day, so it's,
But
it's 3 hours.
I mean, it's in depth. It needs its
Yeah,
time.
definitely.
Just like any area of knowledge.
Exactly, yes.
Just like medicine, just like engineering.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has its own complexity as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay. But you advise the viewers and the readers to read the book and have it as a guideline. It's the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Isn't that right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to have it and to read it and to, to go over it, that's fun,
But put
that's
into
wonderful.
mind the concept that we just
Exactly,
discussed.
understanding that this is a text that needs explanation, that needs an expert in the field to deduce rulings from these ahadith.
That's a very good point. Very similar to this book are, I think, Bulugh al-Maram.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is very similar to.
Very similar to that.
I think the only difference is the number of the hadith is bigger.
Bulugh al-Maram is bigger. Yes. Bulugh al-Maram is bigger. Yeah.
So and these books are only in ahkam, in Islamic.
Yes, they are connected. They are related to al-ahkam, the rulings of the legal tradition of ahkam.
What about the bigger books, the Bukhari and Muslim?
I mean,
aren't they based on the same areas?
They are based, I mean, they are organized. We're talking about organization of the hadiths, okay? So some of these books, some of these big collections, yes, they were organized. The Sunan books, they were organized on the same way that these two hadith, that Umdat al-Ahkam is organized. But there, they cover
more areas.
More areas, and also, in Al-Bukhari you may find, different narrations for the same hadith, but in Umdat al-Ahkam you will not find that.
So it's just it just mentions the last narrator, the companion.
The last narrator, and only one wording of the hadith, because you may have different versions of the hadith. Okay, so what you have in Umdat al-Ahkam is one version, not different versions as we may have in other books.
As a conclusion, as a final word, what can you share with our viewers? What can you tell them? What can you advise them?
Number one, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a mine for the Muslims, so that they should approach, they should learn from it, they should take whatever they can from that tradition of the Prophet. But they have to be sure that what they're relying on, what they were working on, is authentic and reliable. Okay, this is number one. Number two, you should understand that, whatever they base their opinion upon it, okay, is not, may not be the only way to understand this hadith or to interpret that tradition. Okay, so they should tolerate others, okay, who are following different hadith or different positions. Also, they base those other people, they base their opinion or their positions on also different hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I think these are two main things that we should, take with us throughout our
putting into mind authentic hadith and not going into the knowledge of the hadith and saying I know everything out of it without going back to the scholars, without going back to the different schools of thought. Professor Saeed Faris, Jazakallah khairan, thank you very much for your time and knowledge. Brothers and sisters, at the end of this episode, I would like to thank you for watching us. Today's episode was about عمدة الأحكام for Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. Our point here was not to talk about the book, was not to discuss what is in the book. It's a message that we want to convey to all of you. Whenever you're reading a book such as this book, try to make it as a guideline, try to go and read the hadith of the Prophet, but avoid building on that knowledge without going back to a scholar and asking before you build and say, this is the sunnah. Till the next time, I leave you in the care of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.